So welcome to our next podcast of True Business Stories, and we're very pleased today to be sitting in the office of John Ekberg from Coastyle Building Solutions. I've probably known John maybe 10 years. I'm stretching it here a little bit.
I'd say probably 12.
Maybe 12 in my days running fags, and John's a very well-respected builder on the Bellarine. So, Bill, why are we here?
Well, why are we here? That's a good question, Mark. We're here to hear all about John, of course, and find out why he's been so successful. And I just want to focus briefly, Mark, on the fact that if you look on John's website, for the last 6 years in a row, he's won the HIA Small Business Building Award.
Yeah, we just won the 7th one.
Oh, did you? Well done.
Thank you.
And then also you've won Regional Builders Awards. And where I first came across John was as a judge of the Geelong Business Awards, although I didn't judge John's business, because you won in the last 2 years you've won twice in 2 categories.
Yes, we have. Yeah.
That's right. And the first category that you won was for corporate social responsibility.
Yes.
Correct. And we come back and visit that, Mark. And really interesting, Mark, that the last year, 2022, John won the category of health and wellbeing, promoting workplace culture, etc., etc. So that is sort of what prompted me to say, let's go down and visit John. So welcome, John. It's great to be here with you today.
Yeah, welcome on board.
So, John, where did it all begin? Where did you go to primary school? Where were you? Where did life create for you?
Yeah, look, primary school was spread around because my father moved around from Melbourne up to Sydney. Just did some primary school up there, and then we moved up to Brisbane and spent most of my primary school up there, but then moved back down to Melbourne to Doncaster. So,
and then from primary, what?
Went to Doncaster High School.
Yep, and that's where you lived for a while?
Yes, yeah, with the family, and then always in the eastern suburbs, but... I finished the high school reasonably early because I did, at that point, you had sort of moving into trades, so you had to do that directly from high school. So at 16, got my carpentry apprenticeship, or went out to do that. And it was funny, it evolved because I started as a carpentry apprentice and did that just in the southeast suburbs and all of that. And then during that, I was playing ice hockey, so I decided, I'll start making ice hockey uniforms. So,
oh wow!
And then that evolved into it. So I did that on the side while I was doing my carpentry apprenticeship, and sort of basically finished that, but then moved straight into doing sportswear at that point. So that was sort of an evolution. Started doing that in the shed with all my mates' mothers was sewing for me. So that all started.
That sounds like fun. That doesn't sound like a business. Just on that, Mark. Something I picked up about John in my search was that 40 years ago he won Apprentice of the Year for carpentry.
I did, yeah. I got that at Box Hill Tech. It would have been at that point. Yeah, I remember getting the 10 out of 10s for my drawings because I loved doing all the pencil drawings of everything. So I think that the teacher loved that.
So why ice hockey? What got you into ice hockey?
It's funny, I started just doing general sessions and skating down at Ringwood, Iceland, but my father had played, and he'd actually carried the flag in the Winter Olympics in 1960.
Oh, wow.
They turned up, it would have been like Cool Running, the Australian ice hockey team, and they had to play Czechoslovakia over there. Imagine that. God, the world champions in Australia got to play them.
Well, your surname, actually, would you come from... your ancestors from Northern Europe, by the sounds of your surname?
Yeah, Swedish. Yeah, but I'm third generation. So, yeah.
Oh, you've got to tag a little bit of that onto your nationality?
Yeah, my father said at one point he was going to call me Sven. Imagine going through life as Sven Ekberg and you're not Swedish.
So what took you back out of clothing manufacturing into the building industry?
It was I'd done bits and pieces during that time and helping other people out, and a lot of it was in the planning of the projects and things for them as I was doing it, because the sportswear business evolved into we did New Balance and Bum Equipment and Russell Athletic, who ended up buying the company back. It wasn't until I was playing around with doing a lot of stuff over in China and everything else. I was doing product assessment and bringing it in and procurement. And then I literally moved it back down here, bought the block of land here where we are, and decided to come down and start building the house. And so that's sort of 20-odd years ago, and decided, geez, it'll be pretty. This looks like the Mornington Peninsula is going to be, or was, sort of 30 years ago. So I said, well, let's get down and start it up again. So I came down here and got my builder's licence.
So what we should tell our listeners, where is here?
Well, here is in Indented Head, and a really nice bush block, I think is probably the description.
Yeah.
And a lovely house at the front and a massive office complex at the back. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a good setup. I mean, it really is. And I mean, the fact that we can work out of home, and it's just far enough back off the beach, so the Christmas rush doesn't affect us as much when it gets inundated.
I did see the mandatory boat in the yard out there.
There is. It needs to get used more often.
So what was your first building job then? You came down here to build your house?
I did, yeah. So, I mean, this was the first job, but it ended up being because it's nearly 80 squares, this house, which is probably a little bit too big for me because I built it to have my parents here as well. But, the first job would have been, at that point, all I did was have a van and a trailer, and I put on an apprentice and started up, and that's how it went. And we started doing smaller work or just around the area as people were doing it. But I think the first one was one of the places on the Esplanade where we put a front bar, and that sort of I developed Coastyle and started the symbol and designed that and put it up, and that was sort of the first one that we posted that, and it I think word of mouth and that started and continued from there.
And how far wide do you go, John? Do you just deal with the Bellarine, or do you go a bit further?
We try to stay to the Bellarine or down the surf coast, and we're sort of coming in. We've done quite a bit of work, and we did quite a bit of work in Geelong, but now we try to do the Bellarine and then down to Barwon Heads. We continue to get quite a bit of work in Barwon Heads as well, but we just finished one right out of Belbray, and sort of from Indented Head, you go, yes, it's down the coast, but it's like an hour 15.
It's a fair hike, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so from yourself and an apprentice, how many have you got working for you now? What's your crew now?
Look, we've got about 20 of us, and the carpenters all work for us, and they play the role more of a builder than just a carpenter. So we can sort of keep that and keep control of it that way, and then it's all our regular trades.
So you have local. A dedicated workforce, in other words, and you're not relying on contractors.
Correct.
Or external contractors. I just want to jump back, Mark, to the award you won last year in the Geelong Business Awards, which was for health and wellbeing, for promoting that in the workplace. Tell us a bit of what that means, or how you go about ensuring the health and wellbeing of your teams.
Yeah, I mean, look, good question, because it's a whole cross-section of everything. I mean, we treat everyone basically as family. It's a family business, and the boys are all our family. We make sure they're looked after personally as well, and play a big, that's a big part of it. We're making sure they're all right. If they've got things they need to do with family, that takes first precedence, and we try to organise hours and things around that as well. We sponsor and get involved with as much of the community as we can too. We've got like the men's shed come and grab assorted stuff nearly out of our racks and things like that. And we try to help them out and sponsor the footy club and the golf club and things like that. So,
yeah, well, that's just on the way down, Mark. I noticed that, on that outer fringes of Geelong, where all these little boxes are going up, which they pretend are called houses. There is a well-known builder or developer who's got some great big signs up saying, looking for carpenters.
Yes.
And I thought, that's the demise of the bulk builders, isn't it? In reality, is that there's no loyalty. From who? No. It's all one job to the next, and what's the better pay I can get at the next job.
Yeah, it is. And I think because during COVID really put a stall on it. I don't think there was, for a long time we couldn't find anyone else. Certainly apprentices just dried up. I don't think the kids wanted to be committed to something or whatever, and I think it really stopped. But last year it came back in, so we put on another 5 apprentices, which is good. Fantastic. And some of them are mature age. Some of them have started and wanted to do more. The difference with us, because of our diversity of work, it's that they get a full training. So they'll do everything from some framing to, we do heritage work, and the extension reno work is a really good learning curve
And
for
are
everybody.
they doing formal stuff through the Gordon or a TAFE? Is there any involvement there?
Yes, the building skills Australia is the one we're sort of using at the moment with most of the guys. But yeah, they do their formal training, but most of it's on site. I mean, we make sure we've got enough qualified carpenters that they're getting trained, and we train them in, and we early in the stage we'll let them sort of run smaller projects and put them in quite early in their apprenticeships, so that before they're qualified, so with assistance, and so they are getting that full package all the way through to finishing and fixing.
Well, that's great news to hear about your attitude with apprentices, because you know that when things get tough, the first ones that suffer in some of these larger businesses, let's cut the training, which is an absolute disaster.
Yeah, it's a backward step. Yeah, because down the track it affects you. Yeah.
And things like pricing and stuff, John, how's that levelled out? We all were aware that there was a shortage of timber because there was none, and there was all sorts of issues with fires and floods. Where are you up to now with all that?
Oh, it was much better when you were there doing it. You've had the prices under control. No, look, COVID smashed it. There's no question. Everything went up like 80%, some of it more than 100%, and it really didn't because you've already quoted stuff. So, because we're usually sort of working 6 months to 12 months out for jobs, as we are now into next year. But it seems like it's levelled off a bit. We still get notification. I think Hardy's is just going up another 10%. So, I think there's still going to be stuff that's happening. But the old level of the pine stick seems like it might be coming back down. So
which is good.
You've heard it first here.
But it makes life hard for you to quote, because people, with the fixed price contracting is just a nightmare.
Yeah, it is. It's a nightmare. It's making sure you're, costing enough. And labour's the same, because, is it going to keep going up and working it through? But I feel it's more levelled out. It's plateaued, I think, at the moment. So hopefully.
Good. And you do a whole myriad of building projects, John, but what's your sweet spot? What do you really enjoy the most in what sort of project?
Yeah, look, the extension renovation works is our forte. Where it is, we do new homes from scratch, but they're more custom architect design homes. Yep. But yeah, that extension reno work is definitely where we come to the forefront,
and that helps your apprentices. And as you said,
absolutely, yeah. You need better carpenters than just sticking up frames for doing the work we do. Yes,
yeah, and I suppose in renovating, there's always issues, isn't it? You pull down a wall and you go, oh,
correct, especially the older places. Yeah.
Didn't know that was there, or in fact, there's nothing there holding it up.
Yeah, we did one down in St Leonard's, and it was full of heritage, and we had to move it on site. And as we opened it up, it was like there'd been windows. I reckon they'd taken a chainsaw and cut walls out. There was no studs, and there was garden stakes in the wall. And so then it's a balance between the heritage and the building surveyor to say, well, I think we need to rebuild this.
Now, John, you are a successful family business. Tell us a bit about the family, and I know your wife is in partnership with you.
Correct.
So how do the two of you work harmoniously, or is that just a myth, that word, harmonious?
No, it's a great word, but the way we worked it out is that her office is at one end of the house and my office is down here. I think that's made a big difference because, I don't want to be the boss, so to speak, for that. But no, Anita does all our interior design work and customer service, so she deals directly with the clients and making sure everything's ticked off, from designing the full kitchen to making sure they've got the right handles on the doors. So it's everything, and all the colours and schemes and everything.
That's good. Now, the other issue, of course, is that this is not just a 5-day working business, as you know, or soon to be a 4-day week that they're all talking about. Soon it'll be a no-day week. How do you manage your time how do you and your wife get out? Do you actually get to have holidays? Tell us a bit about how you manage that time factor.
Yeah, look, I think that's evolved too, because, I mean, when you start and you go through it, I mean, it's certainly a lot more. Most of mine was later nights. You go have dinner and just come back and go to the office. I'm not too bad now at separating office, and like once I leave the office, I try not to take the laptop up with me and just stop. But I usually start pretty early, get in and go through it now, so I've sort of swung it around a bit. But you still put in the 10, 12-hour days.
Yeah, well, that's right. I think anyone that's successful knows that it's a combination of everything, really. What are your hobbies outside of work these days?
Golf, fishing, family. That's sort of the thing. And not necessarily in that order.
Righto. And which one are you best at?
I'll say family. Was that a good answer?
Right. Then besides that, how's the golf score?
Oh, look, I'd like to play more, but you're trying to get me to tell you my handicap, aren't you?
No, because it's not about handicap. It's,
I really
I've
enjoy
been there
golf.
and done that, and I know that if you just focus on handicap, you'll have a miserable life.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, no, it's real. Like Port Arlington Golf Club, I'll give them it's a fantastic club down there. The camaraderie and the people and everything else, like everyone will come back for a drink after, do it. Yeah. It's more than just having a round of golf. So, yeah, Port's a great club. Good course. Fairways are just fantastic at the moment.
So coming back to Coastyle Building Solutions, how do you promote yourself? Is it word of mouth? Do you social? Do you advertise?
Yeah, look, it's Anita drives it, which is really good, and we're doing more like on Facebook, and we're doing more, and the web has been really built to do it because we send people to there to have a look at it.
It's a good website too.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Anita's done a great job with that. Yeah, word of mouth is really important. We tend to, wherever we work, there's usually the signs on the jobs, and usually our customers are pretty happy to leave the signs up for quite a while, and that's helpful because people see it. Vans, all have the signage and going through, so people sort of see it. We do, with again, as I said, with sponsorships and things. There's our signage down at the golf club because we helped them and put up the pro shop, and down at the footy club and things like that. So it's more because we sort of try to concentrate on a smaller area. It's a bit easy to be bigger fish in a smaller pond.
At the beginning, I spoke about all the awards you've won. Are winning awards important for you in promoting your business, or does that give you why do you go into awards, and what do you think are the benefits?
Yeah, look, the awards, it takes time to put together and apply for the awards. But we've used, especially the ones for HIA, for the professional small builder, the ones that we've focused on because we feel that's the one that's got the credence for showing that, yes, we know what we're doing. But as part of that, we do our business plan, to submit the business plan, and that's a big one because I think if you're doing that every year, it really helps you know where you're heading and what you're doing and trying to keep you on track to what you're doing. And focused on what you're good at from the building perspective as well, and for making sure you got the planning moving ahead. So that's then when we've achieved the awards, I think it's just it allows me to say, well, if people are assessing us, they can say, well, okay, they've won an award, or we can say, well, yes, we've actually won this, and it's to have won it now 7 years in a row is pretty amazing.
Well, and my experience is that it has an effect with your staff as well, and the people that work with you.
Yeah, I think they're very proud of it too, to be able to say that and put it on.
Yeah, the comment I liked there, Bill, was the business plan. John has a business plan.
Well,
how many businesses do we talk to? They go, oh, no.
Mark and I
what's that, a business plan?
Mark and I are fanatics about business plans. So, although I don't agree with just buying a business plan off the computer and just filling in the squares.
Yes,
you've got to go about it a totally different way. anyway, that's a story for another podcast, isn't it?
But it's fantastic
Yeah.
that you've got
Yeah.
a good business plan, and I like the fact you're tying it to the award because it makes you do the business plan to make sure you're up to date.
Correct, and
It's very clever.
well, it's been one of the drivers to do that because we have to submit a business plan.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people would submit one that's
Yeah.
a cookie cutter one.
Yeah.
But no, we've sort of built it. I've used and talked to a lot of friends to put it together to start with, which has been really good. But yeah, the business plan really helps.
Now,
very good.
okay, John, I'm a prospective user of your services, and I've got a house somewhere on the coast here, and I thought I'd better go and talk to a builder about doing all these extensions. But let's throw it onto your side now. What should a prospect of yours do to get the best benefit out of you, supplying a quote that they can understand and that makes sense to them, and more than likely will give you a better chance of putting up a proposal that works?
Mm-hmm. There's a few aspects to that question.
Yeah, rather than just come in and say, I want to do a renovation,
Yeah.
what would you like people to do beforehand?
Yeah, look, I think one of the big things that we do is when people initially make contact is Anita goes through and talks to them and then wants to make sure. Sorry, that was my phone buzzing.
That's all right.
Sorry, that's the ultimate bad, isn't it? Anyway.
No.
So
As
Anita,
long as it's not a new customer.
No. It was only my concrete. Oh, Danny will say that. So look, assessing from the beginning what the client wants, and then because if the client is, for instance, just after a price point, we might point them in direction to say, well, look, go down the point of going and seeing one of the mass builders to see if you've got a plan that will actually suit what you're wanting. Go through that first, but if you go, no, look, I definitely want a custom home, then I need to rely on and organise a meeting with myself so I can go down and really get the nuts and bolts. So we start it from a personal meeting to find out what they want. And then we can say, well, yes, we can help you, or point them in the right direction. So we use it not necessarily just to get work. We're trying to say, well, look, let's talk to you about what you're trying to achieve and point them in the right direction to do it. And if they feel like it's it is what they want, if they haven't already done it, we put them in contact with the right draftsman and architect to get it all started, and then we assist them through that process to then give them initial prices before they've got to while they're still at concept stage, so they know whether they're on the ballpark to continue on.
Well, Mark alluded to fixed price contracts before, and you are still quoting fixed price contracts.
Yes.
I don't know how the hell you do it, to be quite honest. So, what's your risk mitigation, the expression is, over unknown costs in the future when you do a fixed price contract?
Sure. The key to us is we lock in the building aspects, and that's where we have our risk, because we feel it's really difficult to do cost plus from timber and steel and things like that, because it's sort of out of the owner's control and everything. But we do a lot of prime costs and provisional sum items, which are the items that need to be finalised. So we'll do that for all their appliances, plumbing fittings, light fittings, all of those items. And we usually do a provisional sum for electrical, because that's, especially with extension renos, because that can really change during the project. So that's, I guess, mitigating some of the risks there. But it's a balance between because clients are told, and it's all in writing in the warnings, like that prime cost and provisional sums are risky. So some people go, well, hang on, there's more of those, and we just have to explain, well, in 8 months' time when we're doing the work, it could be different. Plus, you haven't selected it.
And following on from that, just listening on the radio coming down, they were interviewing an economist, for whatever that word means, because some people are predicting 3 more interest rate rises and etc. And people started ringing up on the radio, and one lady rang up and said, if the interest rate goes up again, our payments are going to go up by another $1,100 a month. Now, well, first of all, I thought, well, you've got a big loan, but a lot of people have overextended. But do you think, interest rate rises as they've been, is that affecting the building industry in the area you operate in?
Look, not as much as it does for the people that are on the edge, for the either first homes or buying an investment property for rentals. I think a lot of that's people are doing less and less rentals now at the moment. They're sort of cutting it off because of restrictions. But for most of the projects we're working on, the people are sort of past that. Oh my God, it's gone up that another % or whatever. I think we're in more of a people are either building their final dream homes because they're moving down here, or fixing up a holiday home and doing that aspect. So we're a little bit above that, where people are at that risk.
I think what it sort of sums up is for John as the owner of Coastyle Building Solutions, it's not easy. Long hours, constantly fiddling with the figures and trying to make sure it all balances out, keep his team paid, keep them motivated.
Mm-hmm. Cash flows.
And have a happy life.
Cash flow's king.
Cash flow's king. Yeah, absolutely, John.
All right, John, and we briefly discussed this before. So what's your plan for the future? You've been in this 40 years? Well, been in the industry 40 years.
Yeah, look, I've been doing that and other projects and things as it went through. But look, I'm finally starting to talk about maybe winding it back a little bit from myself, and doing a little bit more John time. But look, my priority at the moment is to make sure we're getting the company in an aspect that it can continue on for everything we've built for the guys too. So that's a big push for me, but I do have this dream to be sailing around up in Queensland on a catamaran, but that's a bit down the track. But
you won't be on your own. There's lots of great catamarans up there.
There is, yeah. So the other thing I didn't say before was because bringing that through is because of the HIA Victorian Awards. Each year you do that, you go to the Australian national titles. So we represent Victoria. So this is the 7th time we're going for the Australian titles. So, and we're up at Hamilton Island in May for that. So
fantastic.
Hopefully we're put up the banners for that for Victoria, and I'll put the big V on. So
good luck. Good
that
luck
harbour
with
at Hamilton Islands. Have you been there,
yes,
Mark?
Yeah. Had a hit on the golf course across.
Yes. Yachting pleasure up there, isn't it?
Yeah. It's fantastic. So, John, thank you. Thank you
very
much for the chat today. And your website, coastalbuildingsolutions.com.au? Correct. So anyone interested...
So it's just Coastyle.
Coastyle.com.au. Anyone looking to renovate or build, have a look. John does superb work, has a fantastic reputation in the building industry, and I know that from my days at Mitre 10. So I highly recommend you. And Bill?
Thanks, Bill.
Yeah, great to be here, John. And so I say I first came across you in the judging of the Geelong Business Awards, and I know that the people that came and saw you were highly complimentary of what you were doing. So I've been waiting for this interview for a while. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, Mark.